enthusiasm into action. We better turn it into votes. So it's the next 70, whatever days it is, with focus and discipline, so we can elect my wife, Kamala Harris.
My wife. Good morning, Comrade. You're listening to WHIV LP New Orleans 102.3. This is Good Morning, Comrade. It's Jeff and Robin and the first gentleman, Douglas Emhoff here joining. What's going on, man? I was not expecting right before we go on the air or before we record the show to find a clip of the first gentleman, the second gentleman rather, Douglas Emhoff, saying you need to vote for my wife to a crowd of adoring Democratic nerd maniacs at their Coachella or whatever it is.
Bro, that's not surprising in the slightest. It doesn't even raise half a rock's people's eyebrow.
You can hear him in that video just slurring all over the place. It's incredible.
Well, you gotta understand,
this is Woodstock.
This literally is, if you are a politics nerd, and you have to be a politics nerd. So we're politics nerds, but you also have to be a bootlicker. Yeah. And carry the party line, and every 4 years you get to have multiple open bars in an American city that you still have to, if you're not a top level operative, you still have to pay your own way to go. I mean, brother, I'm sure I've told you the story about being at not even the convention, but I was on the platform committee, and there was no bar at the Orlando hotel we were at. And Donna Brazile literally commanded me to the back rooms of power in the Democratic Party.
Smoke-filled room? Is this where the smoke-filled rooms are?
It wasn't a smoke-filled room, but she had a mini bar all her own. And she was just
booze-filled room.
Yeah, she was just she's like, Louisiana delegates, come with me right now. And then she was just like, what y'all want to drink? And so it's I'm back there just getting drunk with Donna Brazile.
That is literally how a lot of these political patronage networks are constructed. Oh man, Donna Brazile's chill. She's cool. Right. She gave me booze at one time. You know what I mean?
And it's so easy. The thing, with these conventions, it's so easy to get caught up in it. Even if the stars align and, we ever go to one of these things as media, it's going to be really hard not to be objective and to be starstruck. Even our boy Hassan Piker, for all the people who are listening to terrestrial radio and aren't politics nerds and don't watch.
You mean that chill for the Democratic Party, Hassan Piker? Well,
he's having a hard time. You can see it in his face because, one, the Democratic Party is trying to neutralize him by giving him all access. He has his own handler, which is pretty much his convention concierge. Yeah. And he has all access, and he's having a hard, and they did this to try to blunt his objectiveness of how much he hates the Democratic Party. You can see he's struggling. He is struggling because he's done things he ran into Amy Goodman and fangirled over Amy Goodman. Out, yeah. And I mean, I would too from Democracy Now! I ran into Cenk Uygur one time in a casino, and and I'm still my head is still buzzing.
My heart is beating fast because I saw Cenk on it.
Absolutely, dude. These people, to people like us, these people, you might as well be Katie Ledecky or Michael Jordan or something like that. These are the top. These are the people at the top of their game. So it's
top of the food chain,
brother. It's hard to be objective in those spots when they're plying you. One, you have the, what's the word I'm looking for? You have the kind of chaos groupthink of just the crowd. You get swept up in the crowd. I mean, you gotta, when I was on the floor, I was screaming and yelling and hooting and hollering like everybody else, and I was a Bernie delegate. But you get swept up in that emotion, and then also at night they're plying you with alcohol. You're hammering it's like being at Disney World for the first time because you're barely getting any sleep. You're going to all these You're going to all these caucuses. You're going
You're
to all these
drinking around the world at
parties.
Epcot.
Literally drinking around the world. You know, like when you have your credentials, like the city is open up to you. It's like getting the keys to the city for a weekend. It's crazy. So it's like to be there and to stay, have any kind of objectivity is that's kind of their plan. You know, it's like this is your reward for being a party loyalist every 4 years. You get
or
to
having enough clout that we have to like try and buy you off.
Yeah, every 4 years we'll buy you a Miller Lite. Like, okay, great.
Which and then the rest of the year you get nothing. I mean, like, and again, you know, this is a key component to the bread and circuses of it all, just to sort of like way the whole thing kind of holds together, you know, the way that, like we mentioned, these patronage networks or whatever are constructed. I'm not even saying it's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It's just the thing. It's the thing that exists if you don't want to even moralize around it. I mean, obviously we have, you know, this is part of just like analyzing the system as it is. If you ever want to change, you have to understand what it is. You know what I mean? And how it works.
Sure. And that's what it is. It's these people's, and like to understand, like these conventions and the platform committee is obviously not worth anything ever gets done. One time when my dinosaurs, you know, ruled the earth a million years ago, where, you know, maybe there were smoke filled rooms and things actually got done at the convention. But honestly, I think Chicago 68 like killed all that. And they're like, we got to have this wired like right from the jump.
Totally.
This is these people's Comic-Con though.
Honestly, that is why, because there was a lot of concern when it was all that concern about like Joe Biden like not being able to hack it. Like the part of the reason that all of the Democrats fell into line so like neatly, like so quickly, was because the Democrats know that, specifically the Democrats know that they're like the party of order in a sense. They're the ones that like keep things in line and keep things like they're the ones that are put together. They wear the suit, they look good, they don't let their messiness spill out for everybody in the world to see. So like your choices were this like doddering old man who like can't put two words together, like being like contested at this whole thing, or what happened, which is like the Nancy Pelosi's of the world, the like, you know, the leaders are like, we got to settle this way before this becomes even a question. We got to settle this so that there's no controversy, so that everything's clean, that everything's settled, and all we're doing when we have this convention is like marshaling the troops. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it is.
Exactly.
And there's no controversy, there's no dissent, and like, you know, all like you even see when you mention like some of the glamour of it all, like kind of affecting people. I mean, when AOC went up there, and like, look, a lot of leftists are mad at AOC for saying that like Biden and them are like working tirelessly, like basically spitting like the propaganda of the Democrats. Like, what do you expect is going to happen at the DNC? Right? Do you expect her to be like, actually, Joe Biden is a war criminal, and we need to do a? I mean, obviously, she said to say ceasefire now, but like we need to stop arming Israel. Like, obviously, that's what we want. You can't expect that to be what somebody that has a speaking role at the DNC is going to say, right?
Well, let's be super cynical about it. And I like that we're going to center on Gaza, because I feel like Gaza's getting it has been. I'm really nervous that Gaza is getting pushed to the back.
Left aside.
Yeah. Right, with all this hullabaloo. But let's be super cynical for a moment. And this sucks. I hate that we live in this world. But, you know, you got to dance with the girl you brought. And, you know, we can only.
And it doesn't mean just because you got to live in the world doesn't mean you can't change the world the way it is by snapping your fingers.
Yeah. You know, we exist in all the things that have come before. We didn't fall at coconut trees. And if we're going to be super cynical about it, like, and again, I hate this, but if we're going to give Kamala Harris like all the good will and all the grace and generosity, then let's say her number one thing that she wants to do on day one or even before day one is stop the genocide in Gaza.
Mhm.
She is not going to announce that on, when does she speak? Friday?
She speaks on tomorrow night.
Tomorrow? She's not going to do that there. There's no reason to. And here's why. Because historically, as long as you don't have Hulk Hogan rip his shirt off, or you go on an hour-long ramble like Trump did, you're going to get your party, your campaign gets a bump after the convention. Mm-hmm. So if you're already going to get a bump, as long as you don't fumble the ball, why would she announce that, hey, guess what? No more genocide in Gaza. We're doing
that's not what the DNC is for. Yeah.
So you'd want to get your bump. You'd want to get your sugar high, get everybody happy, get everybody like, oh, Little John came out for Georgia and all that. You want to get all that. You want to get all you milk that for all you can milk it for. Mm-hmm. And then when that sugar high goes down, then you hit them with, and I'm not saying she'll do this.
No.
Or even has a one. I don't think there's there's maybe a 1% chance. But I'm saying you'd want your sugar high to end, and then you hit them with no more genocide. That's sick. It's cynical. I hate that we live in this world. But if it was going to happen, that's how it would happen.
That's the game. That's the game. Yeah. That's what the game is. Mm-hmm. And like, obviously, we're not doing the annoying liberal thing, being like, oh, what are all of those people doing outside of the DNC protesting? Why are you doing that? Or anything like that. Like, obviously, those people are there for a reason, and they're there to send for a message. They're there to keep the pressure up and keep it in, if not the public consciousness, because mainstream press isn't reporting on this, keep it on the Democrat. Like, there's a lot of normal, regular people that are delegates to this big DNC thing. Like, you get the weirdest freaks in the world, but they have some normal people that are delegates, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I have normal people, like normal people who live in, like, the people that I got along with most at the when I went to the convention personally were like the people who were on the rural Democrats caucus, because those are just normies who live like in Kansas or Georgia, and they're farmers, and they're like, you know what, it'd be really nice if I didn't have to pay $200 for bad internet. Like, can we lay down fiber? I'm like, yeah, that seems like something the Democrats should be doing. They want.
We really need there to be, like, you know, weed in the farm bill or something like that.
No, that was a thing when I was on the committee. That was a thing on the platform committee, was weed in the farm bill, and it got voted. It got approved by one vote. Yeah, and people are like, and I remember I screamed out because they were trying to rig it. They were trying to be like, oh, well, not everybody was here, and it's like, nobody cares about that. Like, the vote is the vote. And I'm like, and I screamed. I was so frustrated. This is how long ago that was. I said, y'all are playing around with this. This is why people vote for Gary Johnson, who should be voting for Democrats. And some old man from across the room yelled out, he's right.
I love that.
I was like, who cares about legal weed? This is the year 2016 is when it was.
Is insane.
I'm like, this is crazy. Talking about this.
And still in 2024, like, we're still one at a time. The fact
that
Democrats have slow rolled the weed thing instead of just like jumping in like face first, like, shows that they only have so much will to like want to win. You know what I mean?
Well, another topic, because my thing is, I think they're just waiting for Big Pharma to get their stuff in order, and then they can grease the wheels. And then all of a sudden, just like sports betting, remember, oh my God, sports betting
DraftKings,
it exists outside of Las Vegas. If it does, it will be the downfall of America. And then all of a sudden, the sports betting lobbies had more money than the casino lobbies, who wanted to keep sports betting out of everywhere except for Las Vegas. And all of a sudden, overnight, boom, we had sports betting.
It's everywhere.
Weed is the same way, dude.
I
hate capitalism so much.
Next thing you know, everybody's sponsored by DraftKings.
Exactly. Which we were told that was going to ruin games. Everybody could never go along with this, and
everybody except us is sponsored by DraftKings. Obviously,
so wild, dude. I should be. But they would hate me. I make money. I'm the worst person they have on there. Not like I make like I can quit my job money, but I'm like, oh, I'm putting $100 on here. Oh, I'm getting my money back. Like, I'm not putting it on something stupid.
But I love, you know what's
They
awesome?
almost got me during the Olympics, though. They almost got me because the U.S. didn't cover against France. Or was it France? No. Who was it? The U.S. didn't cover against Serbia. And I took the U.S. to cover against Serbia. And then, doggone it, they were down by like what? They were down by like, the U.S. was down by like 11 points in the fourth quarter. So the odds on them to win got really good. And I just like hedged the bet and put like double my bet on the U.S. I'm like, they're going to win, but they're not going to cover. And that's exactly what they did. So I still made money. DraftKings sponsor me so you can try to get your money back.
Could you just spend it on DraftKings?
Exactly.
You know what's the craziest thing about DraftKings? I love this. I love that like WWE wrestling shows are now sponsored by DraftKings, and you can bet on wrestling. That is so awesome.
You can't bet. You can't do that yet. Not on DraftKings. No, they're trying to. That's the thing. So that's been the talk. I was going to say. So they're trying to get it so you can bet on WWE. And how they want
sponsored then. They're just sponsored then. Okay.
Yeah, they're just sponsored. They sponsor AEW too, All Elite Wrestling. But they're trying. No, you're half right because they're trying to. So the WWE is saying that they can protect the outcome of matches the same way the Oscars protect the outcome of, they get like Price Waterhouse Cooper and like do it like that. Ain't no way, bro. Ain't no way. You telling me that I'm not, it wouldn't be a John Cena or a Rock or something like that, but you're telling me Joe Smo on the JOB Job Squad on the curtain jerker
for himself.
Exactly. Exactly, dog. Exactly. You telling me that you're going to trust these guys to work out. You're going to be like, oh, at the last, so you're going to tell them in what's called gorilla position, which would be like if a stage play
before you go on the stage.
Before you go on stage, you're right behind the curtain. You're going to tell me that you're going to tell them, these men and women, how the match is going to end. You're going to give them the finish, and they're not going to have any prior knowledge. But they're the ones out there like having to work with each other. Come on, bro. That's never going to work. So they're out of their mind with
the
that.
First thing that CM Punk would do is go into business for himself.
Oh, the first thing. And it would only take one person doing it. They would get caught. They would go to prison. It would be on like CNN or whatever. There'd be like a nice little documentary about it on HBO Max. And then no books would ever take WWE bets ever again.
Yeah.
Ever again. Because put it this way, dog. Like, if you want to talk about sports betting, like, I was super amped to bet on the Olympics. Bro, the stuff you could bet on in the Olympics was so narrow. Like, from DraftKings, like, I was on DraftKings and FanDuel. You could only bet on, like, basketball, some of like soccer.
What about like a regular old sports book? You couldn't do it on a regular old sports
I'm sure
book?
you could in like those weird, like if you go to like the UK or something, you go to like a Paddy Power and you walk in, but you couldn't do that at like, but the ones that
Harris?
No, because Harris goes through, they go through like either FanDuel or whoever their bookmaker is, because they're not setting the odds. They're just paying for the license to get the odds from whoever. But it's one of the people that are licensed, one of the companies that are licensed in the US, and there aren't that many. So you couldn't even like crazy bet on the Olympics, which makes sense because if you've got something that's like really obscure, like, I don't know, modern pentathlon, and you know what I'm saying? You know the ins and outs of modern pentathlon.
This is the best steeplechaser on earth.
Exactly. So these sports books are not going to try to like hire a math guy who is intimately familiar with steeplechase to try to out. So they're not going to take bets on stuff they don't know anything about that like you're going to have an edge. Like, you could potentially have an edge on them.
Like you got people like betting like tons of money on like horse jumping and dressage and stuff.
Oh yeah. That's exactly how, like the lines would be crazy.
Man, imagine the betting lines on Breaking.
Man, I mean, honestly, those would be like, that would be one of the easier ones to do, breakdancing, because of
seated, right?
I think they are seated. They're seated, but there's so much. That's a small community. So they're all on the Red Bull like freestyle dance tour.
Mhm.
So like somebody who's intimately familiar with that, which
Could
is
do it.
not a tiny amount of people. Like those things are popular around the world, not so much in the US, but around the world they are. You could come up with odds on that.
Yeah.
You could.
RIP, by the way, to the one-time one and done Olympic sport of breaking. Unfortunately,
It could come back. No, that's how Olympic sports work, though.
not in LA, not in 2020.
No, not in LA, but that's everybody's saying it's because it was terrible or whatever. No.
It was great. It was
That's
so
how,
good.
yeah, that's
made my
how
Saturday.
Olympic sports work. People forgot like there's exhibition sports, and then they'll try them out, and then they'll go away, and then they'll come back in a decade. So it's not like ballroom dancing used to be a sport. They took wrestling out of the Olympics.
That's insane.
I remember that. Like
it's like
yeah,
the original sport.
Well, not only I was joking around with somebody. I was like, not only should Olympics like never be touched, they should have to do it naked. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here?
Yeah, come on, man. Why has it got to be too modern? The only problem is that the Olympics have gone woke.
It's woke now.
Yeah.
But
you wanted to talk about the Paralympics, didn't you?
Yeah, I was gonna say that Paralympics are in 8 days. They're amazing. I think I'm gonna do like a full, just on my own, like do a full like Olympics like episode, because I'm really been inspired by the Olympics. Because I think this is definitely the best Olympic Games in my lifetime, as far as like the complete package of opening ceremony, closing ceremony. The games were absolutely amazing. God, there's just so many good things like women's rugby, men's rugby. We were talking about the boxing was really good.
The Amani.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden following that up with the lawsuit of all these like freako maniacs that are
absolutely
that tried to like defame her character or whatever.
Yeah, judo was great. Wrestling was great.
Oh, dude, the team judo, like the spin the wheel final was so crazy. So they had this thing. I don't know if did you watch it? The team judo where like you had this like tiebreaker, and like every single person that was on this team, essentially they would like spin a wheel, and then like gender and weight class would be like picked up, and they're like, you're going now, and they would have to like
it was WCW Halloween Havoc.
Like, it was spin the wheel, make a deal, baby. Let's go. I loved it. That was so cool.
The women's marathon was amazing. Like
women's hoops was that last game. That women's hoops game was so sick.
I can't believe it. Yeah, that was crazy. I feel bad for whoever was betting against the US on the money line. Woo! I'd have been sick. I'd have been like, this is rigged. But yeah, I wanted to go back though. I want to go back to the convention since we started off there, and how I've been a bad podcaster and radio show host because I haven't even watched the clips. Like I've seen like maybe 1 minute combined of all the clips.
Oh, I've been watching every night.
I'm glad because I'm not watching it at all because it makes me, I feel so conflicted about it because it makes me sick. On one hand, I'm really super happy with this strategy of the mainstream and how bad. I mean, you can say whatever you want about Chapo and the other podcasts that had like Stavros Halkis on it, and like you can say you can talk about people like us, like the Dirtbag Left, and just crass leftists, but like the Dirtbag Left, like we kind of won. Well, I don't know if we've won, but we've definitely been
policy, but
we've definitely been assimilated to where the Democratic Party, the mainstream, boring Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Ed Markey, I'm trying to think of the most boring people I can think of, like Democratic Party, have bought on to like the tenets of the Dirtbag Left, to where it's like, instead of like crying and trying to moralize people, you just make fun of these people. You make them not cool. Yeah. You just be like, these people are they literally are weird. Like I've even adopted it into
they're stealing the strategic approach without giving an inch on policy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm really like excited by that because that's we've been people like us have been screaming that like please stop trying to nerd people. Please stop going, well, actually, if you look at the TPS reports on Social Security,
Mm.
the taxes are lower than they were in the year. No, that doesn't
All
work.
they're
You're a
gonna do is
nerd.
lie. They're gonna lie and say like that's not true. Shut up, nerd. You go in a locker.
Exactly. You're just gonna you're gonna swirly in the toilet. So I'm super happy with the way the convention is going, and I'm super happy that Kamala has all this, this
Good
infinite
vibe.
stealing and the Trump campaign is falling apart. But as far as like my only issue, and I can't focus on anything else except, why are we still doing a genocide? Why did we ever do a genocide? And I say we're not supporting, we're not helping, we're not funding. We are doing it. We're doing the thing. We have to come to terms with that. We in the Imperial Core here, we are living inside of Nazi Germany while Nazi Germany is doing Nazi Germany stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the party that is in power is actively doing the genocide right now.
And they're supposed to be the good guys.
Right. And they're supposed to be the good guys. And with all the steam and all the momentum that the Harris Walz campaign has, I'm terrified that we got too much too soon and they didn't have to give up anything for it. Mm-hmm. And I'm worried now that, it's still a battle of inches and hopefully she'll come around because uncommitted. And there, I was listening to Ryan Grimm talk about the convention, and he said, there's a different type of protester in the street. It's not a guy who's just like, back in, Black Bloc, whatever you think of like Antifa, we're just gonna like tear it up, burn it down. They're like, we just want the genocide to stop, and I will happily vote for the Harris Walz ticket. And Ryan Grimm was like, that's something I've never seen before out of, the hardcore left. And I'm like, yeah, we're like the bar is in hell. Like we are not easy. We're not hard to please at this point. And I'm just
some of us aren't. Some people just nothing's ever good enough. But yeah,
I guess. But I'm just like I'm just worried that we're losing. We're winning the battle against fascism, but we're not winning the battle for our very soul and really the survival of our nation. Like this is if we don't. We're going to be a pariah like Israel if we keep going down this course. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why I'm like, get my passport in order. Get ready to go. It's just, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I mean, like, I actually think that, and again, I'm not the like Jimmy Dore type that's like, wow, more is actually possible when you have the reactionaries in charge. Like that's ridiculous. It's silly. It's silliness, right? They're able to do all the Muslim bans and build the wall and all the bad stuff while also like solidifying their long-term strategy of like having a permanent right-wing majority on the Supreme Court seemingly, and like attacking trans people and attacking abortion rights and attacking like workers' rights and all the things. Like all that bad stuff does happen when the Republicans are in charge. It like happens in like slower motion when the Democrats are in charge, but like at least it's not like shock and awe. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Like there has to be at least some kind of interplay that takes place with the sort of like purported again, I'm not telling anybody how to vote or anything like that. It's not even our role as community radio show. We're not supposed to do that anyway. But like when it comes to the like the purportedly left-wing party, the 99% Hitler party versus the Hitler party, like I guess like to some extent, and the Democrats will do their damnedest to not admit this fact, and they will like Joe Biden like literally put his fingers in his ears and basically like pretend that whatever is happening against the genocide is like anti-Semitism or something like that, and that we have to hug the do the bear hug strategy to Israel to make sure that they don't get out of control or something ridiculous like that. But like to some extent, at some level, the bottom can fall out on the Democrats, and that the support that they the support that like they are at least dependent on some like they can't win if everybody who's like PO'd about the genocide like does actually not vote for them. Now,
Right.
it doesn't make necessarily things better if the Republicans win, which is what the Democrats' bet is. So like they literally, it's a hostage situation, and like being aware that it's a hostage situation is a prerequisite to like engaging with it how it is, and like and obviously the solution is not like, to me, the solution is not to like vote for the Green Party or
Mhm.
like vote for like Jill Stein or anything. Like the thing has to be, you have to prevent the absolute disaster to happen that's happening right now, and build as much capacity in the harm reduction side of this sort of thing. Like whether that involves voting or not, you actually have to build long-term capacity to compete. And what the sort of like left-wing organizations that exist in America are not doing is that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything long game, because there's no real left in America. I think we both say
No,
this on
not
the
at
show
all.
constantly, but there's no conscious effort, like even by like organizations that we're fans of, like DSA. I'm a member of DSA. There's no like long term, at least not at the moment. There's no like long term power building strategy. And for some of the organizations, and this is going to be hard for some people that are listening to say, like, there's a lot of purity considerations that are taken into it. Like if your organizational position is that you're not going to vote for the party that is supporting genocide right now, which I respect that on a moral level or whatever. But if you're having as an organization saying that you're not going to do that, and if that's the more left of the two parties, there's no structural way to build an alternative party to what currently exists right now. So like you're basically deciding to not be a part of politics.
No, that's 100. I mean, I can't argue against what you're saying. I mean, what you're saying is factually correct, but I'm glad that we have like two different personal stances on this. I think.
Yeah, I'm not telling anybody what to do, by the way.
Well, it's like I can tell. Yeah, of course, but like it's not even. We're here in Louisiana. Like, thankfully, honestly, thank God, it doesn't matter.
Nothing matters. Yeah.
And if I had, I guess my feelings are this: if I had 1 minute with Kamala Harris and I could tell her one thing, and my vote mattered, let's say I lived in Cincinnati again, and my vote actually mattered, I would tell her, I want you to be president more than anything else I can think of right now, more than anything else in the world. But I will not vote for you while you're actively committing a genocide. That is the floor. I can't do it. I cannot vote, and I cannot vote for you. I cannot vote for Hitler while the camps are going, while just so we can have an Audubon. I can't.
But there's a worse Hitler. If
I mean, and for anybody who would
say, the Democrats would say, but there's a worse Hitler.
Anybody who would tell me to, well, the thing is, well, the first knee-jerk reaction to what I just said would be, how can you compare that? How can you say that? I'm like, how can you not compare these two things at this point? We are actively funding a genocidal ethno-state to keep torture and rape camps going. That full stop.
That's not like speculative. That's like that is like Times of is it Haaretz or is it Times of Israel reporting, like literally reporting just
Jerusalem Post, whoever. Yeah, it's all. Yeah. But like at this point, there's nothing. If Kamala Harris was like, Robert, let me keep the war going the way it's going, and we'll do Medicare for all and healthcare, and I would say absolutely not. Because I just cannot live in a society like that. Personally. So that's where I'm not grandstanding. I'm not, it's just, it is what it is. It is what it is, because in 100, in 5 months, 5 years, or 50 years from now, when America falls, and people come to us and they'll be like, well, we're more powerful than you. We're just going to take it. We're just going to take what we want from you and extract what we want from you. And we'll go, wait, well, hold on. That's not right. And they'll be like, you did it to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like, I'd rather be dead than to live in that world. And I refuse to go along with it. That I have my own limits, but I understand everything you're saying. And I think you said it perfect when you said, like, you're just choosing to not be involved in the political process. And I said, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'll even take it a step further and say, like no matter what, like, voting is like the least important thing you can do. I guess I think that's your least important potential engagement with politics, because like you're one vote. But if you can organize people into an organization that actually pushes for things, for campaigns, for mutual aid, to fight against utilities like Entergy, like's happening in DSA New Orleans right now, right? The Entergy, because Entergy is messing up like they always do, and they're getting money hand over fist from the city council to do it. But like beyond that, like do what you want to do what makes your heart feels good. But also at the same time, you need to get out there and like actually get involved in these sorts of things. And so much to the point, and I think this is what's really important. We had Suleiman Hamid on the show like not long ago. It was like less than a year ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
His mom was abducted by the Israeli government and like kept detained for no charges, essentially, or no stated charges, and like horribly mistreated. How am I supposed to go to somebody like that and be like, you know what? That's really bad what's happening to your mom right now. It really does suck. But you know what? What would happen if Trump was the president?
Right.
You know,
like,
what about like how? I am not going to do it. I'm not gonna like sorry, like I'm a pretty involved and engaged person in my personal life, right? I'm a pretty like plugged into these sorts of things. I think that it's important to get involved in your community. I do think it's like I say, voting is the least important thing you can do, but like turning people out to vote for something good is super important to me. When it comes to government that's pushing a genocide, that is literally funding a genocide right now, I don't feel particularly compelled to run out there and tell everybody, you know, in my personal time, if I'm getting paid to do it for a job or whatever, that's different. But in my personal time, I'm not going to be like wasting. I'm not going to make people hate me, because like I'm like our friend Suleiman, like we said about our friend Suleiman, which is like I'm not gonna do that stupid annoying white boy thing, which is like telling you know what's happening to your mom's really effed up, but it could be way worse. You know, like, are you that's crazy to me. That is inhuman to even consider like trying to make that case to somebody like that. You know what I'm saying?
And brother, yeah, and I can tell you the amount of white people I've had try to tell me about Project 2025, and I'm just like, I'm like, what are you? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, brother, I am dealing with the repercussions of Project 1776. What are you talking about, Project 2025? I deal with that every day. Like, well, like you're just catching up to this. Like, yeah, they don't want, they want me dead. Like, I've been knowing that. So what are you talking about? But yeah, it's just, ironically, I'm excited to here in Louisiana to vote for Harris Wall's ticket because it doesn't matter. And I said that seems crazy, but it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go cast my vote for, like, I wasn't alive for Shirley Chisholm, so I'm gonna vote for Kamala. But if I was somewhere where it actually mattered, without an end to U.S. funded genocide, I can't do it. I can't. I mean, I can't not pay taxes. I can't. You know, the only things I can do is, you know, I can not engage in the political process, and I can leave the country. Like, those are the two things like I've planned on doing, and not out of just some kind of just like I'm so mad. I just feel like right now, without actual material plans, which she has come out with some material beneficial stuff in her platform, which I hope she wins. She
no price gouging stuff, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but without materially benefiting people, we're just kicking the can down the road to eventual collapse.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry to be a downer, on a Saturday.
No,
But it is what it is.
that's just what it is, man. You're not being a downer. That's just what it is. But like another kind of like important point to kind of like, I don't know. You have to look at these sorts of things, and the way that I do, and again, I bring this up all the time. Tell me to shut up if you're bored with it. But like, what are the out of these two situations actually puts what I value towards building power, mostly like union organizing type stuff for the most part. What puts that in the best position to build power going forward? And that has to be the Democrats, honestly.
No, absolutely. No, 100%. That's without question. Like,
because
it's absolutely without question.
no matter what, somebody from the Teamsters might say.
I was going to say, I wonder what you think. I wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
But like he's been, a little bit cynical about the whole thing. But like at the same time, I don't know, like there is an opening that the Democrats are doing by not fully embracing labor. And one of the cool things is actually, about it is that there was, at least on night one, and I do think it was like, hey, we're going to have the luchadors on Nitro jerking the curtain sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they had, multiple labor leaders speaking on Monday night at the convention. They had Sean Fain. They gave him a prominent spot at the convention to speak, where he literally he did a better shirt rip than Hulk Hogan did when he whipped his jacket off and he had his Donald Trump as his scab UAW t-shirt on,
which is cringe, but the convention's for cringy people. It's for cringy people, so
I love it. I'm a cringy person, I guess.
All right,
but then
you like that?
Oh yeah. Oh god. Because you know what it is?
Ball.
The reason I like it is because it's getting union like lexicon, union language into the public.
Okay.
That's
fair
what I like
enough.
That's what I like about it, because it's getting it in front of
a
normal person audience. That is good communications. That is good. That is good messaging, and it's really right. and honestly, it's good fundraising too, because they're going to sell a bunch of those shirts.
God, you're so right. You're so right.
But then also, in addition to that, the president of the Teamsters was not invited to speak at the convention. He was able to speak at the RNC. He wasn't allowed to, or he wasn't invited to speak at the DNC. But one of the speakers that spoke at the event Monday, it was either Monday or Tuesday, actually brought like a number of rank and file Teamster members onto the stage and gave them an opportunity to talk. And I'm like, we got union members, like actual union members out there saying, like, getting to say their piece. That is the ultimate in my opinion. Like we can have leaders out there talking all day. That's cool, fine, whatever. You got members out there telling their story. That's way more compelling. That's way more real. And that's actual people out there being able to talk to America about what's important to them. And that's cool to me. You know what I mean?
See, and I agree with you, and you changed my mind. I still think it's cringe. But,
I mean, it is a little cringe.
You're 100% right.
But like part of getting a message out is being a little bit cringe. Memes are cringe too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of the idea.
And the thing about what's the Teamsters president name again?
Sean O'Brien.
Sean O'Brien. The thing about Sean O'Brien not speaking at the DNC is it goes back to what we talked about at the very beginning of this episode. It's such an old, like, Democratic Party, not even Democratic Party. It's an old American politics way of thinking, to where like, oh, you weren't sufficiently loyal to us. So we are going to keep you out of the lanyard club for our little party with an open bar. Because you weren't sufficiently loyal to us, instead of looking at him as like, oh, this is a guy who has a certain segment of votes that we would like to have. I don't personally care if he's loyal or not. What I care about is, can he deliver votes for us? So I should talk to him and see what he needs to deliver those votes. Mm-hmm. Like instead of working on an action, it's the premise of, you should be voting for us by default. You should support us by default. Never mind what we're going to do for you. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, then we'll exile you from the Holy Land.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is such an old way of thinking, which is not, it's just not viable anymore. It's absolutely not.
Well, I will say this, and like again, that also less so than the viability of that or whether or not it's viable. I think it does tell you, at least to a certain extent, how Democrats do view labor in terms of the sort of like grand coalition that 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 they depend on essentially to win, right? The Democrats view labor, and this is not me moralizing around it or whatever. They view labor as a junior partner, in so much as that the Democrats themselves, the people who are in leadership over there, have the ability to essentially bully the unions around and not the other way. You see what I'm saying? The Democrats are essentially like laying down the law, asserting that they're the ones that are in charge, and again, I'm not going to like moralize around the issue or whatever. I have some critiques of how O'Brien has sort of conducted himself in this whole thing, but like ultimately, at least where unions are at, and like essentially, if you're not all in, then you're all out.
Yeah, I mean, let's pretend that we're like Democratic Party, like influencers or operatives, whatever
Creators for Kamala.
Yeah, so let's pretend like we have any say over this. You would say something like, "Oh, I have issues with how O'Brien has carried himself." I would retort to that too. I don't care. Because if he can deliver votes, we need to figure out. No. I'm not. I'm just saying, like, these are the conversations that should be happening, and they're not, because they're looking at it from on top of their ivory tower as, of course, you want to come in to this hall and be around us. Why wouldn't you? And so they're looking at it. They're looking. What's the maxim that always gets thrown, the allegory of palace intrigue gets thrown around. They're looking at the party as as royalty, as they're regal. Of course you want to be in the king's court, instead of looking at the party how they should be looking at it, as somebody who hates capitalism, and capitalism is the end boss to all misery in the world. They're not looking at, they should be looking at the party as a business. They should be looking at it as, this is an exchange of goods and services. The currency that we trade are votes, and how you come to us with votes, and we will give you a product in the form of good legislation. That's how it should work. And how it got away from that is just, that is the downfall. I've said this to you before. I've literally had a conversation with a guy at work, and we were talking about, remember there was a thing with Bernie last time he ran. It was, would you let the Boston bomber vote from prison?
Yeah.
Oh, if you want prisoners to vote. And a guy at work, he was just like, this was just maybe a month ago, he was just like, yeah, I don't think people in jail should be allowed to vote, because them politicians would do things for the prisoners to get them to vote for. I'm like, you just described how elections should work.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to like be like, hey, I want to be your representative, and I'm going to do things for you, and then in exchange for that, you're going to vote for me. That's how it's supposed to work, my dude. I'm like, that you think it's not supposed to work like that, or that's a bad thing, is how brain broken not just you, just Americans are in general.
Yeah. So also considering that incarcerated Americans account for 1.9 million people in America. Like, if that
that's just a whatever. But I give you another example. I don't want to get deep in the weeds on that. When Obama was president, and people were like, oh, Obama's just giving away these Obama phones for votes.
Yeah.
Yes, so he
what?
is. That's how it's supposed to work. You don't just vote for somebody and then they shoot you the bird, which is the system we have now.
Oh my God. My favorite thing is when, like, like after an election, or after, specifically like when Obama won, I think, like either in 2008 or 2020, I can't remember what it was, but like one of these pundits goes on television and is like, you know what, the morality of our politics have changed. People voted for Obama because they want stuff, and it's like, well, what
Yeah.
do you like?
I pay money to
the
government.
Yeah.
I expect stuff. That's how this works. This is not the mandate of heaven. You were not ordained by God or the Pope to be my representative.
I don't know, man. I like roads. I like
it's
parks.
supposed to work.
I like parks. I like buses. I like libraries. I like, the fact that in the 1960s and 50s and 60s we had a space program.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
I mean, Democrats aren't immune from this. Like, remember Hillary Clinton is just like, oh, Bernie just wants to give everybody a pony. It's like, no, he wants to be president, and he's saying, if you vote for me, I'll do this. What are you doing for me?
No, it was
why?
Her turn.
Like, I'm supposed to like think about how crazy that is. Seriously, the average politician in whatever, it doesn't matter, from dog catcher to president, in our lifetime, with the exception of Obama, for the average working person, we're supposed to, on election day, get up, waste our gas money, drive down to the polls, park, come out, waste that little bit of time, press the button, go spend the gas to go back home or whatever we got to do, and the people that we vote for who win, we expect nothing of them.
Yeah,
that's insane. Like, that's not how representative democracies are supposed to work. Like, these are not kings. This is not the mandate of heaven.
You're voting for your boss is what you're doing.
Exactly. Like, what? Yeah, they want to give me stuff. Whoever wants to give me the most stuff, whoever, let's, for the stock guys and for the crypto bros and all that out there and the libertarians, let's change the word stuff. Whoever wants to give me, the American taxpayer, the best return on my investment, is who I'm going to vote for the CEO of United States of America.
Yeah, and also I'm going to vote in my interests and not in your interests. I'm not voting for, like, so that Elon Musk gets the new government contracts or tax breaks, or like billionaires get, their taxes cut to, like, no to nothing. Like working people should be voting for their interest, straight up. Not for other people's interests, not for their employers' interests, not for any of this stuff, not for any of these major corporations' interests, oil companies, whatever. Working people voting for their interests, because you know what? I don't see you whining, complaining, or anything about how the government just gives contracts away or gives away public land, sells off public land to oil and gas companies. Like, that's not a problem. That's cool. Tax breaks for billionaires. That's great. That's cool. But, like, if somebody gets a phone, oh no, we got to stop this thing.
No, it's exactly right. It's just,
I gotta do this. You mentioned Hillary Clinton.
Yeah,
the funniest thing, she had a speech on Monday, and she did the usual, like, the usual thing that she's been doing since 2016 or whatever. But the funniest part about that was that at the end of it, they played Fight Song.
I heard that, and it made me want to die. I mean, I did
laugh out loud. It was so funny,
brother. That's her. The one thing I did listen to, because I'm just a psychopath and a sadist, that I did not listen to the Hillary Clinton speech, but I listened to people talk about it, and the quotes that came out of there were just everything. Like, it's just like, this is the Democratic Party that needs to.
You failed me, voters. You failed me.
Everything about her speech is like, this is exactly what we don't need. It was like watching a corporate training video where it's just like, hey, this is how you don't, like, sexually harass women in the workplace or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, this is the exact, like, this is the bad timber toe from, I'm really aging myself, from Highlights the magazine.
Yeah.
Like Goofus and Galliant. That's why I was saying, not timber toes, Goofus and Galliant. I was like, yeah, this is Goofus. This is exactly what you're not supposed to do. This is exactly how you do not talk to your constituency. This is exactly like, you do not blame them for things. It's absolutely awful.
Well, no, that's the first thing you always do is blame the voters. Now that's like the Democrat. That's the move. But like hilariously, also in all of that is that like when you see people posting on social media and like talking about, like, people are still fawning over Hillary Clinton. Like wine moms are still fawning over Hillary Clinton. It's crazy. Last night, we're recording on Wednesday. Both Obama spoke. People, I mean, that makes more sense that people would be fawning over them because they're at least like talented. But like tonight, Bill Clinton's going to be speaking, like one of the most disgusting people of all time, who just happens to have a silver tongue. You know, we don't need no Clinton speaking at the Democratic National Convention.
That's how we got here.
Unless you want to send a message that we're still what we were when things were bad in the 90s. Or well, I guess people might still have a whatever. But like, look, I'm also of the opinion that we need to get beyond the Obama politics, but that's not an argument that I'm going to put my back into. Not that I don't like believe in it or whatever. I just know that people are still spellbound by him because he is a generational.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah,
and it's not necessarily
somebody Obama or whatever, because they're never gonna back down.
It's not Gen Xers. It's like our parents. It is if you
a lot of millennials.
If you really
millennials are still taken by Obama.
Oof.
Yeah,
I guess, but a lot of people aren't politics nerds either.
Yeah.
So I guess you're right. Dang.
Because Obama was the apex of like, and I do think this is what's happening, and why people are putting up some of the alarm bells around Harris is a lot of the signaling and vibe that things are going to change. Yeah. But when it comes to actual like the rubber meeting the road, actually we were just, that was just vibe. Remember?
That's the thing. That's what I'm getting at when I'm like, ooh, maybe this was too fast, too soon. To where it's like, ooh, I wish she wasn't this popular.
Obama was too fast, too soon too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he had to come back on Hillary, like in the convention, like in the Iran. But yeah, once he got in, yeah. I mean, yeah.
But again,
it's tough. I don't like to talk to people who aren't versed in politics who love Obama.
Yeah.
I don't like to have that conversation because it's like telling them, it's not that I'm smart or anything. It's like
telling them Santa Claus isn't
real. Or a better analogy is trying to, I think a better analogy is trying to like tell them why the Saints are going to be like below 500 this year. Yeah. And they're like, no, you got to believe.
Derek Carr is a terrible quarterback. Okay, right. Just deal with it. Come on.
It's like, what do you say to that person? They don't even have. They don't. This isn't their life. Like they don't. They don't sit here and listen to political stuff all day. Like I was having a conversation with another guy at work, and he said, "I know we got a jet," but he was like, Obama. He was like, "No, we're talking about Trump or somebody talking about." Oh yeah, I was like, "Yeah, lock Trump up. He's a war criminal." I was like, "Lock Biden up." I'm like, "Get them all. Like we can go get Obama." He's like, "What did Obama do?" And I was talking about drone strikes. He killed an American without a trial, like with a drone, blah blah blah. It's like he's a war criminal. You can't do that. He's like, man, if we gotta lock up everybody who did something like that, you'd have to go after every single president ever. And I said, now you're thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you're thinking. Look at the big brain on Brad.
All right, thanks everybody for listening. Robert, anything you want to say on the way out?
No, that's
the Paralympics.
Pretty much it. Watch Paralympics. It's gonna be dope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks everybody for listening. It's Good Morning Comrade, WHIV LP New Orleans 102.3. Follow me on Twitter at Eminent Prof. Follow the show on Twitter at Comrade Morning. I've actually been posting some of our episodes on our TikTok channel.
Nice.
Oh, actually, my TikTok channel.
I haven't noticed.
So hopefully we can get some of those clips from here up there. But thanks to everybody for listening. We love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.